It's been 9 years since I played a Battlefield game and thought to myself, this is incredible. I'm not saying Battlefield 1 was the best in the franchise, but I'm saying that, to me, this was the last real Battlefield I remember playing. We were told not to buy Battlefield 5 if we didn't like it, and then when Battlefield 2042 launched, not only was it a buggy mess, but it also removed so many core elements of what made Battlefield Battlefield. No classes, obnoxious operators, some of the worst designed maps I've ever seen, no scoreboard, and Call of Duty-esque gadgets like wingsuits. It was Battlefield 2042 that finally got me to uninstall the game and swear off the franchise I had loved for over half of my life. I'm sure I'm not alone in feeling this, but I've almost felt like an FPS refugee for nearly a decade now because of this. I grew up with Battlefield from 1942 and the Desert Combat mod to blasting Unfortunate Son and Hueys in Vietnam, absolutely loving the chaotic Titan mode and hover tanks in 2142, and of course playing countless hours of Bad Company 1 and 2 and Battlefields 2, 3, and 4. Hell, I was one of those guys who would come back to the dorm after classes in college and boot up Battlefield 1943 on my PlayStation to fight it out over Iwo Jima. Up until 5 or 6 years ago, I considered myself as a Battlefield guy. It was a game that I could turn on and spend every single evening just hanging out with friends and playing, and it never got old. It was a game that I played when I was 12, and by the time I turned 30, I was still playing it. Not too many other franchises have that type of brand loyalty. It took a lot of me to walk away from Battlefield, but with 2042, I finally did it, and I thought that was it. I thought the Battlefield part of my life was over. But Battlefield 6 is making me feel like we just might be back. As someone who fled to tactical shooters and milsim games like Squad and Arma, seeing this new Battlefield game is like running into an old high school friend from your hometown that you haven't seen in years. I just want to sit down and hang out for hours, chat and reconnect, and relive the fun times we had back in the day. Battlefield 6 is looking like that old friend, and I'm gonna be honest, I think this is the one to bring me back in. And I'm not just saying that because of the visuals. Let's be real, the graphics are insane. Compared to Battlefield 2042, it's night and day. 2042 has this uncanny aura of being too happy and bright. The maps are too crisp, they're perfect, pristine almost, despite it supposedly being set in the middle of total societal collapse. 6, on the other hand, is dark. It's gritty. The dirt feels dirty. There's dust in the air. It feels like you're in the middle of an actual conflict. But no, it's not just Battlefield 6's visuals. It's not just the return to classes. It's not even the remaking of OG fan favorite maps like Firestorm. I've been burned by Battlefield trailers and gameplay reveals before, but what I haven't seen from the devs in recent years is them acknowledging that they were wrong. This past week, the devs have outright said Battlefield 2042 was missing the excellence of games like Bad Company 2. They've also said that the goal of Battlefield 6 is to make it feel like you're just a soldier and not running around in a hero cape. And in all these interviews, they keep saying that Battlefield 3 and 4 were their biggest influences. They're finally acknowledging that the games they made in recent years had lost their way, and I feel oddly validated. I didn't want to stop playing Battlefield, but their games pushed me out, and I was gaslit for not liking it. Time and time again, I was told that I was wrong for wanting my Battlefield to feel like Battlefield. But here we are, over 10 years later, with the dev team saying, you know what, those games were good back then, we should have just made more of that. So for all you Battlefield refugees out there wanting a reason to drink the Kool-Aid and jump back into the game that you used to love, we're going to talk about what's making this look and feel so good to me, what's making me come back, and of course, a few of my concerns, since, let's be real here, Battlefield OGs should be cautious. We've been hurt before, we've been burned before, but something is telling me that this game is different. Just before the open beta officially released, Battlefield posted a community update outlining their goals for not just the beta, but also launch. In this post, one of my biggest concerns was almost entirely put to rest: map design. Although I'm a big tank player, when I'm not in a tank, I'm infantry, and Battlefield 2042 had some of the worst maps for your average player. Wide open areas with no flow, massive killing fields for both land and air vehicles to farm you, and combat that was very localized to 1 or 2 objectives. In Battlefield 6, the devs have addressed that. Using data from Battlefield Labs, we can see that Siege of Cairo has been designed and improved over testing to create better flow in and out of objectives. Along the way, they made small tweaks, things like improving cover on objectives and repositioning in-place turrets to make fighting on them far more fun. It's a well-designed infantry map, and that's hitting me right in the nostalgia. Now, we all know that classes are back, but what's crazy to me is that we're less than 24 hours from the open beta to start, and the devs are still making changes based on player feedback. A big sticking point to OG Battlefield fans are the class-locked weapons, meaning that support would have machine guns, assault would have assault rifles, engineers would have SMGs, and recons would have snipers. In this blog, the devs admit that they know different players like different options, and during the beta, we'll be able to play 2 different playlists, one which keep the weapons locked, or closed as they call it, and the other playlist having these open weapons, meaning that any class can pick any weapon. The devs call these restricted weapons signature weapons, and the classes will have slight buffs by using that signature weapon. Things like faster sprints for assaults if they use that assault rifle, or better hipfire control for engineers who use SMGs. It's a way to encourage players to use their class-specific weapons instead of the universal ones like the carbines, the DMRs, or the shotguns. And that's a good trade-off, since most of the time these buffs to the player are good enough to outweigh the benefit of a non-signature weapon. But to me, Battlefield is nothing without class identity, and keeping weapons restricted to classes is core to the game. When you see that silhouette of a class, you know exactly what to expect because of their weapon pool. Weapon freedom was one of the main reasons why Battlefield 2042's gunplay was so bad. No matter the operator, no matter the gadgets, no matter the role, the whatever, most people will just run the same meta weapon over and over again, and that is not only not fun, but it's not Battlefield. I do like that they are testing to get proper informed feedback, but I really hope they stick to Battlefield's roots here and keep the weapons restricted. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but what has also made me believe in the dev team a little bit more this time around is the adjustments that they've made to classes and class synergy. Just this week, the devs removed the assault class's self-heal ability, changing their adrenaline injector to simply add flash, stun, incendiary, and explosive resistance, as well as increasing movement speed. These are the types of changes that I love to see, since it gives players who do want to get up close and personal on the front line the ability to push through a lot of hazards, but it will also force them to fall back or even cause their friendlies to move up to sustain attacks and heal. It really feels like they are refining Assault, and I'm all for it. But what I didn't see coming was the inclusion of a milsim feature. Yes, squad fans, eat your heart out. Recon's spawn beacon has been renamed to the deploy beacon and has been given to assaults. It's also limited use. If you've ever played squad way back in the day, squad leader rally points were restricted to 9 spawns. That's as many spawns as there are squad members. Once you hit that 9th spawn, the rally would disappear and you'd have to rearm in order to place it again and sustain your attack. In Battlefield 6, the new deploy beacon is limited to 3 spawns or will self-destruct if the assault player who placed it spawns in. This is an incredible change, but I've already seen some people worried about how spammable it would be near objectives. As a squad player, rallies are a great tool, but if you're not smart with your rally placement, then they're pretty much useless. Put them too far to an objective and you're just running for ages. Put it too close and it will be discovered and destroyed. I love the utility of giving it to players who will be charging into objectives and flanking around, instead of letting the camping recon players use it to constantly respawn on sniper spots. Battlefield devs stating that they're doing this specifically to address concerns around Assault being too focused on solo play is music to my ears and reinforces that this time around, the game is about the squad and the team and not just the individual player. That is how it's always been, and it's things like this that get me hyped and believing again. And that's not even mentioning the new Assault Ladder gadget, which will still give players mobility without the craziness of wingsuits. Frankly, a ladder is something we've been asking for in squad for ages, so seeing it here in Battlefield is amazing. Of course, it will be good for solo players, but once again, this is a tool that could open up different areas of the map for your entire team. For engineers, the devs seem pretty set on how it is at the moment, but one thing that I've noticed is that players can dual wield anti-vehicle equipment. As an engineer and vehicle main, having to choose between anti-tank or anti-air is critical to the role, and giving players the ability to carry both is just not good for the infantry vehicle balance. As you play a round of Battlefield, your kit's gadgets should also change depending on how the game progresses, and although I may run an RPG for 80% of the time, making a decision and sacrificing that AT for a stinger on certain objectives in order to scare off that helicopter is the type of cat and mouse gameplay that makes Battlefield fun. I'm loving what I'm seeing with launchers and SMGs for engineers, especially the return of the repair tool, but even as an engineer main, I think having 2 launchers is way too overpowered and will just dumb down the entire class far too much. The support class also seems to be in a good spot as well, but one thing that has absolutely split the Battlefield community on Twitter seems to be about suppression. First off, real quick, can I say that I absolutely love that there is once again a Battlefield Twitter? Like, not only are we getting the Battlefield versus Call of Duty war going again, but there's movement sweats, flaming machine gun campers, there's vehicle players dunking on assault players, and there's jet players just over there in the corner playing a completely different game. It's amazing, and it feels like I'm really back in 2014. Anyway, back to the changes. Currently, suppression in Battlefield 6 will give you a few visual effects like blur, but will also remove your passive healing ability. To me, this is a return to form for Battlefield, since the removal of healing has been in the game since at least Battlefield 3, and it only fell off during 5 and 2042. Battlefield is not a milsim. It is not realistic, but it is immersive, and you still need to have different gameplay and mechanics to give all sorts of different players ways to contribute to their team. A machine gun player may not want to jab adrenaline shots and 360 no-scope bunny hop around the battlefield, but they may want to play that important role of locking down an alleyway and lighting up anyone who turns a corner to the objective. Giving them an ability like suppression puts them in the game, and not only does it lean into the class fantasy of a machine gunner role, but it will also slow down attackers and give friendly players a chance to respond to that new enemy presence. It's a great balance, and once again, making me nostalgic for Battlefield 3. And finally, just this week, the devs have also changed Recon to include a new Spec Ops training path, and it's, as they say, a nod to the stealthy explosive focus class last seen in Battlefield 2. Now, I'm not a huge Recon fan, but I was a fan of the Special Forces class back in the day of Battlefield 2. It was fun, it was sneaky, and this version of it seems like a perfect extension of the Recon kit. This new Spec Ops path will allow for quieter takedowns and movement, you'll auto-spot enemy gadgets, and going prone will take you out of combat quicker and remove any spots on you. The benefits are awesome, and it fits perfectly in the class fantasy. Every time I read new information on what the devs are doing with Battlefield 6, I try to play devil's advocate. I am jaded. I haven't been excited to play Battlefield in 6 or 7 years now, so I'm used to disappointment, but this time around, there's a consistent feeling of teamwork, of class identity, of letting players be that assault class, not a super soldier, of being an engineer and a vehicle crew member, of expanding that class fantasy of something like a recon to include sabotage and information gathering. It's great. I'm surprised to say it, and I'm trying to temper my expectations, but the more I see and I read and I learn and watch, the more I am hyped. I'm going to be honest, I think I'm just straight up hyped now, but the only real big concern that I have is on the server browser and managing communities in Battlefield. This week, Battlefield producer Alexia Christofi asked the community on why we may actually want a server browser instead of just automatic matchmaking. Currently, Portal, the part of Battlefield that lets you customize your experience and create your own player-hosted games, is supposedly going to have its own browser, and it looks like that's it. There's no actual game browser, but a Portal browser. That's not to say that you can't have quote-unquote normal community games on Portal, but the lack of a browser like Battlelog for Battlefield 3 and 4, or even what we had in Battlefield 1, is really disappointing. Server browsers allow you to find servers and create places that you go back to. They build communities and help create friendships in these games, and automatic matchmaking has a place, and I'm not opposed to it being in the game, but removing that browser has huge downsides for the players. Not only does it remove the ability to link up easily with your buddies, especially if you have more than 3 or 4 people in your squad, it will also prevent one of the biggest problems I've had with Battlefield 2042. Every single time you play a game of Battlefield 2042, at the end of it, you're kicked back out to matchmaking. Why? I just played a game of Conquest with 63 other people, and we all want to continue playing Conquest. So why can't we just continue, move on to the next map, and let's just keep this thing going? This back and forth, stop and start, search and reloading, it's really frustrating, and it gives me plenty of time to think to myself and say, you know what? Maybe I will actually stop playing Battlefield right now. Maybe I don't want to wait and roll the dice, because with 2042, I've unfortunately played back-to-back games of the same map because this isn't a persistent server. I'm just getting match made and I get whatever Battlefield gives me. As someone who hosts squad servers, community servers are one of the main reasons that squad has stayed alive over the years. Hell, Arma Reforger absolutely blew up because of WCS and their server community, and although these are different games, they're still made up by passionate community members who want to play the same experiences with their buddies. Everything that I'm seeing right now is making me believe in Battlefield 6, but I'm extremely concerned about this browser, and my other big question mark right now is on Battle Royale. Now, I'm not someone who really cares what you play. If you like Battle Royale, then fine, you can play Battle Royale. But as someone who likes Battlefield for Battlefield, seeing a Battle Royale included in the game worries me that not only gameplay content will be adjusted and tailored for free-to-play BR players who buy microtransactions, but I'm also worried that it will take development resources away from the main game. This is a big concern a lot of people have right now, and I don't think it's unreasonable. If you want BR in Battlefield, fine. I did like Firestorm for Battlefield 5 for what it was, despite it having the worst item and inventory management I had ever seen, but it was still fun. Just don't ruin multiplayer while you do it. Overall, when it comes to Battlefield 6, I think I'm close to being sold. The look, the feel, the decisions the devs are making when it comes to gameplay, it honestly brings me back to Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. And I've got to say that I didn't think we'd ever be back there. The final test to me will be the anti-tank and vehicle balancing, since shooting 20 damage rockets in Battlefield 2042 or 20 damage tank rounds against armored cars is the most depressing thing ever. Now, I'll be playing, streaming, and recording the Battlefield 6 beta this Thursday to make some live and edited video content for y'all, and that will really help solidify my feelings, but I think this may be the one that brings me back, and it might bring us all back, all you Battlefield refugees. If you are one, pay attention to this weekend, get a drop by joining my Twitch stream so you can play the beta yourself, and let me know if we truly are back in the golden age of Battlefield. But that's it for me. Are you hyped? Are you still holding out so you can try the game out for yourself? Are you like me and just impressed the devs are communicating and changing the game based on player feedback? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. But that's it for me. See you guys this weekend, and until next time, peace.